Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip Committee meeting. Today is November 13th, 2023, and we'll call this meeting in order at 7:33 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin is absent. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas Barza? Here. Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start our regular reports this evening, first on your agenda, you'll see a bid opening. This is going to be in response to a requested RFP. That's a request for proposal for liability insurance renewal for the village's general liability, public official liability, law enforcement, automobile insurance, property, inland marine, equipment breakdown, crime, cybersecurity, and excess liability coverages. These were due to the clerk's office last week, on November 6th by 5 p.m. And go ahead, Clerk Harding.
We had one bid dropped off from Horton, which is located at 10320 Orland Parkway, Orland Park, Illinois, 60467.
We have a lot of students in the room, too. So this is our annual insurance renewal. This is good for 1 year for those particular policies. Starting, let's see, the effective date, December 1st.
Okay. Let's see. Do you want me to go through just each individual one then? Or do you want me to do total?
I would just say total.
Okay. All right. So the proposed premium amount for the renewal would be $840,807. That's $840,807. And that was the only bid that we received. I'm reading that right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That's
what we have now. And,
right.
Okay.
Right. So Trustee Murphy will defer that to your insurance committee for review and approval. As actually, probably put that on next week's agenda because that coverage starts December 1st.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll start with our officers' reports, and I'd like to go a little bit out of order. We've got a couple of people in the audience who'd like to be cognizant of their time. Our insurance person, Renee Formel, is here this evening, and she had a meeting. You've been here since 6:30. You met with all of our unions prior for an overview discussion, and if you can give the board a brief overview as well, too, Renee, of our health care insurance for the village employees.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. I believe you received a copy of the 2024 renewal presentation. Looked like this information. Great. In summary, probably the most important page is page 4 of this presentation. It's giving you a summary of the current coverages that we handle on your behalf. The medical program, which is with Blue Cross Blue Shield, is a self-funded program, so you have fixed components. You pay administration and some insurance policies for protection for the village, and then you also have claim liability. The fixed costs were a 7.5% increase from the prior year. The projection of claims of what they expect will be your claims for the next 12-month time period is a 7.2% change. So when we convert that into a budget for the entire program, it is a 7.5% change from the current program. The dental program is also with Blue Cross Blue Shield, is also self-funded. The fixed cost with Blue Cross Blue Shield is changing by 3.4%. The projection of claims is actually decreasing by 1.1%. And so the overall funding of the program is a change of a 1% decrease. For retirees that work for the village, when they turn age 65, they move off onto a Benestar retiree supplemental program, and they're not on the Blue Cross Blue Shield program. You pay fixed premiums for this program, and that is changing by 5%. For the vision program with IMED, the life insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the short-term disability policy with Blue Cross Blue Shield, all three of these policies are receiving a 0% change in program cost. We did go to the marketplace in anticipation of your renewal. That's where we approach other insurance carriers, third-party administrators to work on behalf of the village. The three main TPAs of Aetna, Cigna, and United Healthcare all looked at your current programs, the costs that you're incurring, and the paid claims that you're paying with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they all declined to quote, deeming that they could not be competitive against your program. For life insurance and short-term disability, even though we had a 0% increase, we did go to the marketplace, and you'll see that it's not uncommon to see a lot of these markets are declining just due to your industry. I want to point out on page 8, in terms of the program, there is one change in the program for the 2024 program for all of the health insurance benefits. This will be to our high deductible health plan. The IRS regulates what the minimum deductible threshold needs to be. Currently, your deductible is $3,000, which was the minimum for 2023. In 2024, the minimum deductible is increasing to $3,200, so in order to stay in compliance, we have to increase the deductible on your HSA compatible plan. But other than this change at 2024, there are no other changes that are occurring to the program.
So, Renee, obviously, I know there's a lot of information here. You know, my office met with Renee and our HR manager, Tony Fasano, a couple weeks ago, and exactly, like you said, we're saying like basically our deductibles and our deductibles are the same as they've been, but our premium is going to increase. You say, Renee, 7.5%?
Correct.
Okay. So the overall, I'm looking for my page here, the overall change, obviously everybody's got a different plan. You can be an employee or employee with spouse or with a family plan and so forth then too, but these are going to be increased by 7.5%. The overall, it just is an overall cost to the village too. The annual fixed cost liability increase from current liability. This is roughly 4.7 million.
4 million, 4.7 would be your maximum,
Right.
but the expected is a $4 million program for the Blue Cross Blue Shield medical and prescription drug for 2024.
Okay, that's what we had here was $4,010,000 was the fixed cost on it, right? With a maximum of 4.766.
Correct.
Okay. Otherwise, we haven't changed any of the prescription drugs or anything like that. Everything stays the same.
Correct.
Okay. Trustees, did you have any questions for Renee? No? I know everybody's, we're very acclimated to these particular healthcare programs, so we're used to seeing it. Obviously, like anybody else, nobody likes to see an increase, but nobody wants to pay more for gasoline either, so it is what it is, and we are a self-funded village, meaning that we are paying the claims as they are produced. We have an administrative fee involved, but we're paying these as we go.
Correct. The village agrees to pay claims up to the first $70,000 on each plan member. And then if a claim exceeds $70,000, the total claim paid for that plan member in the course of a policy or Blue Cross Blue Shield takes over on that claim. And so you pay for that policy. It's called a stop loss policy, and you pay a set premium for that policy to Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Right. Okay.
Mayor, I'd just like to say thank you, Renee, for coming out. She gave a great presentation at the meeting prior to this one, answered a lot of our questions, made a novice like me understand it. So, again, thank you so much for your time and coming out, and I think we're moving forward, having the meetings with the unions twice a year, I think that would help a little bit, and we can get a better handle on it and be better prepared for increases like that. But again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Renee, certainly this policy is going to renew itself on January 1st, 2024, so we'll put this on an upcoming agenda for approval as well then, too. And we'll forward a digital copy to the clerk's office so they can download that for our records then, too, okay?
Wonderful.
Could you do that, please? I know you gave me this, but can you send a digital copy for the clerk's office?
Sure.
Okay,
We've already prepared one, yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Renee.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Board, I'd like to, again, go out of turn, and I asked, well, actually, it's not, it's the first thing on my agenda, was that I had, number one on my report, was a discussion regarding the need to establish a TIF on Cicero Avenue and hiring a consultant to help us through that, establishing a TIF. This evening, we have with us Nick. Nick, I apologize. I put your name over here to one side. Nick, how do you say your last name again? Greifert. And Nick is with the Southland Development Authority, and I wanted to discuss the need for to deliver a TIF qualification report and redevelopment plan from Southland Development Authority and assist the village in management of the public participation phase and formal adoption of 3 ordinances that would need to be done too. As far as additional needs for a TIF implementation, meaning to assist with recruiting and so forth for new developers, or B I had on your agendas was assist in the implementation of an economic development program utilizing financing techniques available within the proposed TIF. That is not on the table at this time. We can have that discussion at another time. And again, for those in the audience and at home, we do record all these meetings. There's actually a camera faced on us folks and not on you. And in case you ever want to defer back to this meeting, but a TIF is a I gave everybody all these this evening in their mailboxes tonight yet too. Is a tax increment financing. So basically, what I'm asking the board to consider is putting together an incentive program for Cicero Avenue from, let's say, like 123rd Place all the way to 111th and maybe westbound to where we meet Oak Lawn at the Viaduct. And there's a lot that goes into something like this, which Nick can give us a quick overview so everybody understands what we're talking about doing here.
Right. Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, trustees. It's great to be here tonight. I appreciate it. Just a quick by way of introduction, my name is Nick Reifer. I'm with the Southland Development Authority, which is a relatively new regional organization designed to promote economic development in the south suburbs and southwest suburbs of Cook County primarily. So, as a region and as a municipality, there are important economic development challenges to stay competitive. As you know, we've come out of a tough economic stretch during COVID, and then prior to COVID. I know the unemployment rate is currently low, but even so, there's still work to be done in terms of economic development to stay competitive going forward. And so under Illinois statute, a municipality is given certain tools, and one of the tools of the toolkit is tax increment finance, TIF. But I know that in past years that the village has established TIF districts, but over time the whole process at a statutory level has gotten more rigorous and more challenging to set it up. So there are more steps that go into the process of establishing a TIF. So that's kind of what we're doing. What we're proposing is to assist the village in providing specialized work in terms of reports and the mandatory documents you need to have on file before you can pass the ordinances, the 3 ordinances that would establish a TIF district. But basically, in a nutshell, There's a two-part process for setting up a TIF district. The first is kind of the due diligence phase, where you do the legwork, including the analysis, pin by pin, parcel by parcel, to evaluate certain statutory criteria or factors. There's 13 in a typical TIF district factors, and you need to have a minimum of 5 usually, unless it's a conservation area TIF, in which case you only need 3 in order to qualify it. So that's all goes into the TIF qualification report, and then you have to put that into a lengthier report, which is the TIF redevelopment plan that lays out the basic strategy for the village, including boundaries, which is an important aspect. And I know we talked a little bit about the general area, which is a business corridor, but we need to settle on boundaries that make sense for the community and for the businesses in that corridor. So once you have that on file, the TIF qualification report and the TIF redevelopment plan, then you're in a position to go forward with the second phase, which is the public participation phase. And it's a very open process. Not only do you have the normal Open Meeting Act requirements, the normal public meetings where you have consideration of ordinances, but you also have to do certain things prior to even getting to that point, including public hearings, at least one public hearing. You also need to have a meeting with the other taxing districts, and you have other optional meetings too. So there's a lot that goes into it from a transparency standpoint. That's all factored into the statutory process, and so that's what we would propose to assist the village in doing, is just to handle this complex statutory process.
So, again, board members and certainly the audience as well, too, part of the reason I wanted to have the board consider this is we did really well using a TIF on Pulaski Road. Years ago, we had a TIF that was going to die on 127th Street. We moved it over to Pulaski, and we brought in a consultant at the time, and they did a nice job of getting the business owners to understand the value of using TIF money to improve their properties. And by improving their properties, TIF-eligible expenses that they can use was, let's say for an existing property, you can do everything from replacing a parking lot to a facade to HVAC, rooftops, you name it. We actually helped one strip mall put in a parking lot that was nothing more than dirt. And I believe we were told in its first full year of sales tax returns, we saw a 6% increase in the return on that investment. In other words, because it was a shared cost, we were sharing, it was like a 50-50 cost. Say, like, putting in a parking lot might have been, I remember, Roger, what was that, maybe $100,000, something like that? $170,000 parking lot. We split the cost of that with that strip mall owner, and now the business is thriving. You know, and you saw the same thing with different facades and whatnot. It was development, helping promote development in our town. And what I gave the board this evening, and this is all public record, when you look up any PIN number on a property, you know, certain properties that want to be sold or need to be sold on Cicero Avenue pay substantial taxes. And again, you need a tax bill to understand who the taxes are being shared with, you know, with the schools, the library, the parks, the county, the village. There's a lot that goes into that, and everyone's going to be different. Last week I had Condesa Del Mar in here, and they are very anxious wanting to sell their property, but their taxes, what they're paying on over there, including the BP gas station, are almost $596,000 a year. The empty LA Fitness right now, they are paying $513,000 a year. You know, for a fitness place that's. We have some corporate interest. Roger, he had any follow up with any of that lately too?
There has not been any follow-up.
Not right now. Okay. But again, just to give you kind of a couple of examples, there's a auto repair shop just north of the Aldi's grocery store on Cicero, and just that small repair shop that's empty right now That's $15,000 just in taxes on something like that yet, too. So, I mean, there's a lot of available parcels along there, and I don't want to wait until it's too late. And if for any reason these folks leave, and let's say they don't pay those taxes, it puts everyone else at risk of your tax going up, because budgets are set, that's the expected revenue to come in, and I don't want to wait until it's too late to do more about it. Right now, we're fine, we're getting in front of the situation. We did real well on Pulaski, but I feel it's time that we do more on Cicero Avenue. And it doesn't just start and stop here. What Nick needs to do is, it's one thing to get a buy-in from the village that wants to do what he just said. The first deliverable is putting together a qualifying plan and a redevelopment plan. That's an $18,000 expense. The second step of that would be adopt ordinances and meet with all the other taxing bodies. You're going to meet with the schools, the parks, the library, and all them to get a buy-in from all them. And that's really where we could muscle this out on our own, but you really want the support of the other taxing bodies to do something like this, because ultimately it's those same taxing bodies that are going to draw from strong development. And when you have empty parcels that are on that land right now, not only certainly do you want to see new development made possible on theirs, but if you have any empty buildings, it's just as important, if not more, that you got to get a tenant in something like this yet, too. Again, the onus is on the property owners to sell or lease those properties, but we have to be prepared on our side on what we can do or offer. I'm telling you, I've been in my office for 6 years now. We've done really well. We're fortunate to see taxes if they develop something. And when you take what looks to me like it's at least 3 or 4 acres of property, it can be expensive to develop that. And right now, ballpark figure, they're looking at spending $4 million to do something over there.
I spoke to him, he was looking at like 4.2.
Exactly, 4.2, 4.3 million. So, again, that's why I asked Mr. Greifer to come in. I spoke to other mayors and different communities, and they've worked with you as well, too, Nick. And I don't want to do a bunch of name dropping, but they all said good things about your organization and stuff here, too. These are professional services that you're engaging with, so to go out to an RFP is always kind of difficult, because this, like anything else, you're trying to engage with like a consultant in this case, then, too. Did I kind of frame that the way you want to hear?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It was spot on, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I especially agree with what you said about not being in the real estate business. I think most municipalities don't necessarily want to be in the real estate business, but at the same time want to be an effective partner with all the existing businesses so that they can continue to thrive.
Right. Certainly, I don't want to dominate this conversation. I framed it the way I felt I could. Trustees, did you have any questions for Mr. Greifer?
Just some comments. I think what's missing from the conversation is the length of a TIF. It's 23 years?
Correct, yes.
And then the way that the tool works is that it takes an equalized assessed value, so anything above that, the increment, then goes into the TIF pool.
Yeah.
So that's why you need the buy-in from all the different taxing bodies, because in essence, you're pulling away from funding what they would have, if I have that correct?
Well, that gets a little complicated, but yeah, you're right about setting the base level of EAV in the first year, and you're right about 23 years. So hopefully over time, as more investment goes into that corridor, those EAV or valuations go up. But the base EAV, that's all continues to be shared as it was with all the other taxing districts. So I would argue that there's no negative effect in terms of lost revenue to the other taxing districts. But over time, as it hopefully goes up in value, these assessed values, that can go back into that specific corridor into what's called a special tax allocation fund. And that's what allows the municipality to be a partner and to co-invest, if you will, with the private sector to continue those targeted investments.
We were fortunate with the Pulaski, though, with combining that other TIF allowed us to jumpstart the Pulaski TIF. We have no such tool in the toolkit for this.
That's my point, is, that's why I'd love to have somebody like Mr. Greifer represent us to speak to those, to come up with at least, a plan of what we want to see get accomplished in this case, because I'm going to go back to the fact that the biggest element of establishing a TIF as an incentive is to get a buy-in from the other taxing authorities, and companies like Nexite, they don't do that. So this is a whole different field that we're reaching into. And, it's one thing to go out and promote trying to bring in a Raising Cane's or a Burger King or something like that, but I'm more concerned with the idea that, we need to find people to trying to assist development coming through here. And right now, let's just say a company like Nexite, as much as they might find an interested party that wants to have a business in Alsip, and they just look down and say, well, what can you give me to do this? And I'm like, nothing. Because that's what I have right now. I have nothing to offer them. And that's why we need a plan like this to do such. You need plan that with these incentive programs, a TIF can help them with demolition costs. Let's say if somebody wanted to buy that Condesa Del Mar, it's one of the last great, pieces of commercial property on Cicero Avenue, and the BP gas station lease is up in about a year. So you can actually get that whole parcel at some point, or it might be possible. I don't want to speak for them. It would be possible to grab that whole thing. And regardless, if it was, you said, like when we were at one of those meetings, it's the 3 C's. That's all you're getting right now. We're told is 3 C's. You're getting chicken, car washes, and coffee. Outside of that, you're not. You look at any community right now, and tell me you've seen a big box going up any place soon. They're not.
Well, in Pulaski, we had the TIF district, and I thought that there was supposed to be a Popeyes coming into Pulaski.
And they were, yeah.
So, you do have the tool to your disposal, but, even if you have a TIF district, you can't force private entities to sell, or you can't force people to come in. So, I still think that we're going from 0 to 100, really, super fast, and not really thinking this through as to what our economic strategy is. And again, the market, it could be different 10 years from now and so forth, and retail is changing. So, but I think there are other proactive measures that we can take that don't rely on, using public dollars to fund private interests.
Well, public dollars would be hiring a staff personnel to do the same thing, but I'm saying this is being done at a lot less cost with professional planner involved yet, too. Not just an economic development person. In other words, I'm not just looking for somebody to develop something. I'm trying to protect the investors that are there, too. That they've got tools that we can offer them. Because let's just say hypothetically, if Condesa Del Mar, for example, they've sat empty for almost 10 years now, and they're spending over almost $400,000 a year. They're out $4 million of just trying to keep up.
It's a big building. It's a big footprint.
Pardon me?
It's a big footprint. Just
Yeah.
like our house, my house is 1,000 square feet, so my
Right, I agree, but now for them to try and really promote and get rid of that, if they said, well, if a potential developer came in and say, hey, listen, I can bring in a medical facility, I can bring in this, I can bring in that, what can you offer me? I'm like, I have nothing, and I can't start from scratch then. I got to get these tools in place now.
We had a business that was interested in a piece of that, and because of public outcry, they didn't.
Right.
And what we've got in front of us now is steps 1 and 2 to be determined on 3 and 4. So the initial outlay here is nowhere close to what that steps 3 and 4 are going to be.
Nick, when would you recommend, the business recruitment and whatnot and like that, and what kind of money would we be talking for that service? Ballpark, would you know?
I think it's kind of, the short answer is the scope of the work that you want really dictates that. If you want a really wide soup to nuts scope of work, that presumably would be higher. If it's a very targeted scope of work, then it would be significantly less, especially if it's geographically limited. But if you're looking at entire village-wide broad scope, then it would be more. Sometimes, in my experience, communities, if they don't want to hire a full-time economic development director, and some south suburbs don't have that luxury, they have someone that's hired on an outsourced basis. Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing in Hazel Crest. So it's somewhat kind of medium scope. It's not as expensive as having a full-time economic development director, so we are doing medium scope set of services in Hazel Crest. We were hired last week in Thornton to do a very specific scope of work there, to do a very targeted area, just like literally 1 or 2 blocks. So that's pretty cost effective for them, but they're not looking to do everything like a master strategy.
So that was
But I should step.
it's a long response for no answer.
Yeah. So, well, I can't just make up a number here.
Oh, you could try.
I will say that, I'll give you an example. Orland Park, they have a pretty strong tax base. They have multiple economic development professionals on staff. I think they pay probably over $100,000, and then they have an assistant that is compensated, maybe not at that level, but probably close to that level. So I don't think you're in the position to do that, I'm guessing, but we would probably, if we were asked to continue to do the work and do additional work, in terms of after the TIF is up and running, you want to do more work, we could provide something that's more cost effective, that wouldn't cost as much as what Orland Park or what Tinley Park is spending for their economic development program.
How much should we spend for Kane McKenna?
We haven't utilized them in a long time.
Right, but I mean, they're the ones that provided the original.
I think it was
The ones
50.
that were giving the
Oh, no, they're way before. That was,
Mannheim was 50 a year.
Mannheim.
Mannheim's
Oh,
were about
You said
50.
Mannheim, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
No,
we had,
Kane McKenna.
McKenna.
Oh, no, I know. That's
But
before
then
me.
we had a person on staff originally, and then we upgraded to Mannheim, and now we're next site.
The next site, if they, like I said, if they brought in a developer tomorrow, I don't have I don't have anything in place. So I'm trying to get something in place here. And actually, for what's worth too, trustee, Kane McKenna was bought out. They don't exist anymore.
Oh, I'm just,
Yeah.
that's where we were before.
Yeah. So, Nick, anything else you can add to this conversation right now?
I would want to point out that, whether you have someone on staff or you outsource a lot of the economic development work, they are part of your implementation team, but the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, CMAP, they're in the business of working with municipalities to provide grants to do those urban planning studies that you might, with like TOD or comprehensive plans.
They've done ours,
Pardon?
and they've done ours.
I'm sorry,
They've had that.
they've
They
had
did
it,
ours,
yeah.
right.
So I think that's an important element. So when we do the TIF district, if that's the direction you want to go and move forward, you want to take into account the existing strategy planning that you've done already and kind of build off of that. So that's a real advantage that you have, is having that in your back pocket, the comprehensive plan. And fortunately, CMAP is an important partner for all 240 suburban municipalities in the Chicago area, because they are constantly funding these strategy documents. What's missing with those strategy documents is that those are like 1,000-foot level documents that are at a high level of generality. So what the TIF plan does is it provides you an implementation roadmap to really start to execute those long-term visions that you have in the comp plan.
Nick, I actually want to have somebody update our comprehensive plan. You should do these like at least every 5, 10 years. When did we do ours, trustee? Maybe 13? So it's at least 10 years old right about now.
Mm-hmm.
And do you folks do that as well, too?
We haven't done that,
Okay.
so I would say I'm certainly aware of a lot of the firms that are out there that,
Yeah.
that do that kind of work and can give you referrals. There's a lot of
We had
good ones.
since we had
Chicago.
Hitchcock did the original and stuff yet, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think based on what you discussed and about the implementation, and I think I grew up playing sports, right? And my kids are in sports now, but it's like you have a sports team, they have the equipment, you have the players, they have skills, but you need the coach to orchestrate all of it. And that's where I see a staff person here being that coach. It's utilizing the tools, the bats, the helmets, and so forth with the players and their skills and so forth, and also not just working in a silo, but talking to other entities like our building commissioner, with our superintendent of streets as well, and so forth. So as I mentioned before, I think we've had our share of consultants, and I think as a board, we just need to really see what is our strategic approach to economic development. And I thank you for taking the time to come out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No, I know, obviously, I understand, and I want the board to understand the same, as well as the public, the need to put tools together, and if we want to see this community become vibrant as it should, especially on a high-traffic area like Cicero Avenue yet, too. So I really, like I said, I know I've consulted a number of communities that all said good things about Southland Development Authority. And that's why I'm going to ask the board to consider that. I mean, certainly if you want to have additional conversation, I'm up for it and stuff yet too. But we need to start putting these pieces in place. As it is, we're talking right now. We're increasing staff. We just grew the fire department by three people. We're going to increase the police department by a couple more people. I mean,
On a temporary basis.
right. But I'm saying there's significant monies going into those right now and stuff yet too. And
But some of the work that you've been a part of, Mayor, some of the new businesses that are just coming into town, the structures that have been risen, that also attracts to those vacant properties adjacent, and to develop properties that have historically been vacant or long time taken down. I mean, it's a credit to you, and so it's things like that will sit there and seed further economic development.
agreed. But there are certain issues too when you come down Cicero Avenue, and let's say you see some of those empty parcels over there like 113th Street and 114th Street, and what we've been told by major real estate commercial developers is that nobody wants to look out and look at green space, and unfortunately that's what you have across the street is a cemetery. And I want tools to combat something like that, and then we had small parcels that aren't super attractive, like near 119th and Cicero. There's a parcel on the corner that was supposed to get developed, and during COVID, his finances got overwhelmed. I spoke to him, and he got cold feet. Couldn't do it. You never know. Maybe one of those motels next door might follow out with something like that yet then, too. We're looking right now, we're double-checking the deed on the church that's for sale at 122nd and Cicero as well, too. There's a major parcel that can be developed over there.
That's locked in. With her will, that was set up to where it will always be
A church.
church.
I heard. But also, I mean, you run into things all the time. You never know if somebody's got a way around that. Otherwise, you need to know the church has $1.9 million, and right now they pay nothing into the taxpayers, into the coffers, but should that go empty for any reason, I mean, who's going to start?
And not having the means to sit there and to jumpstart it ourselves, that's difficult. That's a huge undertaking.
I'm just stuck at, and we had this discussion about a year ago or more about bringing on a staff person, and if we did bring on somebody to promote economic development, and that first thing out of their mouth was, hey, I've got a potential hotel that wants to go up, but they're not going to do anything without a TIF. Well, it's like, well, I just sent that guy home, that kind of thing, I mean? So that's all I'm saying. I got to get these tools together before we can do more.
Right.
But, Nick, thank you very much for coming out and speaking to us.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're available in-house. Sometimes it gets a little bit watered down if you do the Zoom meetings and all that kind of thing.
for
yet,
sure.
too,
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming out,
Thank you,
and
Mayor.
I'll
Thank you,
I'll reach back
trustees.
out to you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So move on with the rest of our reports. We'll go to Clerk Harding's report. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of the October 2023 FOIA report and a presentation of the November 6, 2023 board meeting minutes, and that is all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. We don't need an attorney this evening, and the engineer did not file a report this evening. Public forum, did anyone in the audience wish to address the board tonight? Sir? Oh, no.
Hi.
Hey.
Sit down. Didn't think so.
You have to get a little close.
I think it's
A
on.
little closer. Yeah.
You got your right on that thing, Cuff.
Yeah, loud talker anyway. Kevin Pickard, most everyone knows me. Just a couple of things I wanted to address, and especially for ordinance and that. The new house construction going on, specifically like on Leamington, the 2 new houses. They took an old one down. They're going to build, I assume, there soon. But you got to do something about the water that's running down there and sitting and flooding that road. It's worse now because all that surface, there's no place for the water to soak in. You can't drive a hybrid car or an electric car through there when it rains hard anymore. The sewer is right around the corner. So I ask that you make it a contingency that, hey, you guys got to extend the sewer around so this drains, so all that water running down there doesn't flood the road so much.
Are you familiar with that, Raj?
What street did you say?
Leamington. It's been flooding for years, but now it's really bad because the 2 new houses, all that water's coming that way.
You've got the vacant lot on the corner.
I think he's talking
What street are you talking about?
Where they built the 2 new houses and they got the vacant lot
Yeah,
next to
well,
that.
well,
Yeah, well, that's just compounding the problem now. All the cement driveways and all the roofs and that, all that water runs down now off instead of soaking into the ground. And it's making it, the water's so deep now you can't drive an electric car through it. So
Look at it first thing.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about
extend
that either.
that sewer over to Avon where there's a sewer cover at least 3 feet lower. I know that water will run downhill if it's got a way, but you can't dredge it through that guy's yard. That and with construction at 11338B on Avon, that house that's under construction, I urge you to not give them a certificate of occupancy until they redo that road. It is all gouged up, nicked up from them unloading stuff. I saw a conveyor with a steel pulley on the road, no plywood, no mats, no nothing. Trucks delivering, shutting the road down at any given time. The guy actually had the nerve, he was delivering steel, he stopped his truck right dead in the center of the road and wouldn't move. So you had to back up, turn around, and go around. Since when's the contractor, over the taxpayer? You just laid that road down.
That's the new one on Avon Street, right?
Yeah. It's 2 months maybe. It's still soft. And these guys got it. There's gouges and that. Drive by and look at it because nobody's driving down there.
Okay.
And I think they need to repair that section of the road before they do anything.
Yeah, obviously, Roger's making notes. He'll talk to him.
Because, that's taxpayer money that they're damaging public property right now.
Okay.
Did you
Yeah.
contact anybody at that time?
No, by the time you call in, they send somebody there, they're gone already.
Okay.
That's the problem with it. I mean, we need a comprehensive, I had one 15 years ago you didn't like, where if you're unloading on a city street and you got steel touching the street, whether it be an end loader, a bobcat, whatever, you put down pads. We need an ordinance like that. Because
Always helpful to have at least sheets of masonite, stuff like that,
yeah, something. I mean, they're just on that thing, and it's all nicked and gouged up. And I'll guarantee you in 3 years we'll have potholes there. And I mean, what did we spend? Almost 200 on that, probably?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, that was $750 overall, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's been 25 years since it had a coating, so...
Oh, no,
it's
Mr.
kinda
Bakar.
nice.
When we were out citing, I certainly looked at where you folks live back
Yeah.
there, and that was
And
it.
then if you could look,
Ignored.
it collects water in a couple spots by the driveways now, since they put the new one down, but I don't know if that's just a matter of peeling back the sod a little bit, all that new stuff on Avon. But, yeah, we got to do something with these contractors. They're getting out of hand. The nerve, I said, what if I needed an ambulance, or my
Right.
house is on fire, or my neighbor's house? They couldn't get down there. That guy had to dead center of the road. Then they park across from each other. It's one lane at best. And I know the width of an ambulance, and it ain't going to fit. So we need to do something about that.
No, we appreciate you bringing it to our attention, Mr. Picard. And certainly Roger's the guy, and our building commissioner, get out and take a look at these.
And then, as far as your TIF district goes, I thought we already had one in existence there
Down in Cicero, no.
on 123rd.
At 123rd place, Kevin. It's just that one little parcel, like
It's
where
just
the red roof is at.
where the-
Exactly,
okay.
yeah.
Not a bad idea, but I'll tell you what's really hurting us is we're the only town that doesn't have 6 lanes. Oak Lawn, you can drive all the way to Midway Airport on 6 lanes. You can go to Crestwood and go that way.
So what I'm trying to do right now,
First thing is get a hold of the state, because we should be due for a redo here pretty soon. Let's get them to widen the road.
absolutely, Kevin, what we just did was the board, we just approved last week an intergovernmental agreement, and we got a grant from the county and from the county and an investment cook grant is what we had. It's almost $60,000, and it's actually going to go up as high as 102. But what we're going to do is we're looking at more sidewalks and stuff like that. But my plan is I want to present something to CMAP to widen 115th Street, like 4 lanes, and put in even like a parking like on the Maris side of the street and stuff like that, yeah, too, with curbs and everything else.
Yeah.
Because I think it's crazy to think that from Pulaski all the way to Ridgeland, there's not a sidewalk for folks to safely get to work and so forth then too, you know?
Yeah, around schools, I mean, 2
Right.
blocks each direction, there should be sidewalks.
I won't do
Absolutely.
anything with Cicero Avenue because they got to deal with the bridge over the railroad
Yeah,
and the bridge over the
there's
canal.
billions of dollars. The governor said so,
Oh, yeah.
let's grab some of that
Oh,
and widen the bridge.
And thank you for reminding me, but we put that in there too, is we want to make the bridges safer too, and they got those skinny ramps and the concrete shot,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Pulaski's worse than Cicero is and stuff, and they just won't address it. All of our, what they call non-jurisdictional streets, our major arteries are all owned by the state and a couple by the county, and we're doing our best. We have no say in how they do that.
Yeah, hopefully Crestwood will ask them to replace that thing over to Cal-Sag.
Well, the bridge is being replaced. We got that paperwork originally because they were talking about what type of bridge to look for.
No, that was over the Cal-Sag at Pulaski. That was the only spot was at Cal-Sag at
27's
Pulaski.
coming up.
Yeah.
Cal-Sag and Cicero needs it too.
Well, they're going to re-strengthen that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they did the emergency repairs already where the guy could crawl
Right.
through the beams.
Yeah.
So,
But they want to shut that down for like a year and resheet the whole thing and stuff yet too.
they could widen it too, that's the old standards.
Right.
But, yeah, it'd be a good idea to, us not to be the redheaded stepchild to the south side and actually have 6 lanes. That would be,
I get you.
and that actually, you know, because that's what people say, you can't get through town because it bottlenecks right here. And after 3 o'clock, you don't drive anywhere until about 6, you know,
Right.
it's just so bottlenecked. But, all right, so that's, oh, and the Home Depot driveway there, if the state's going to redo that road, you got to get ahead of time. So when they were doing it the last time I stopped with the buggy, he says, well, it's too late to do anything about it now, where that horrible
Rounding.
hump that you come on.
Oh, yeah, the big incline, kind of like you do at the jewel store, same difference, yeah.
Like what Jewel had over here
Mhm.
in Pulaski.
The grade is so much higher.
You can't bring the fire truck out of there, I know that. You got to go at an angle. There's a front bumper will drag on the
Okay.
hooks. But they need to know that ahead of time. I says, well, put that in the back of my mind the next time you guys ever think of redoing the road. But,
Well, exactly, just to adjust the grade, you're saying, to pull into that drive.
yeah,
Right.
well, there's a great big hump there too.
Right.
It could be just ground off, but I think that is part of the stoplights thing. You know, there's
Right, the sensors,
The
right.
sensors are in
Sensor.
there, so that might be why they're reluctant, I don't know, but that would make that a lot better.
Okay.
Come out of there with a load of lumber, you don't have a load of lumber when you go through that dip.
No, I get you, I get you.
All right, yeah, just them 3 things.
Well, I appreciate it, thank you for letting us know. And again, we didn't know about the water things, Roger, I don't think you did, right?
Definitely will address it tomorrow morning.
It's, yeah, next heavy rain, you know, that always floods there. Right down from Middle checks there. now it's getting worse because we're getting more runoff. Yeah, that's the only thing that really agitates me, some guys hogging the street up, not telling anyone. Like I said, yeah, I can go around, but try backing that ladder truck up.
Right.
It's going to take 10 minutes, so. Yeah, the guy had some nerve to, right in the middle of the road, just give me that, and I go, really? Dead center of the road, dead center. You couldn't have been 6 inches either side, and they just go, I think these guys need to offload where they got the space there,
Right.
so.
Well, please, if you see things like that, please let us know. We can get somebody on it.
There's no ordinance to force them to do the pads and that. We talked about that a long time ago, but we definitely want it in ordinance form so that you can enforce it. The police are going to come over, oh, there ain't nothing. But like them gouging up the new street, yeah, that's the damage in public property. They should be held to task for that. But other than that, yeah, there's really no one that says you need to pad your stuff as you're unloading and unloading and stuff.
Well, how about this? I don't want to just lob to you, but Trustee Preda, if you want to look at that as ordinance legislation, if you want to take a look at that.
I already jotted it down,
Okay.
Mayor.
All right.
That would be well worth it. In fact, I might have rough drafts still from when I wrote the last time. If I do all.
All right, sounds great.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Picard, would you mind signing in for us?
Anybody else want to speak to the board tonight, too? No? All right, we'll finish our reports then. We'll go to the standing committees, Finance and IT Committee.
It's either Trustee Dalzell or Nava Esparza.
The listed payroll and accounts payable. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Fire Committee, Trustee Murphy.
No report tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
We'll present the ordinance amending the police staff.
Exactly, Trustee, sorry. I put that, copy of that in everybody's, Madam Clerk, I'll give you a copy of that here for
I
you.
have it, but this
Yeah.
needs to be redone. These are all the old people.
Oh, thank you for catching that. The attorney sent that over. Okay. We got to fix the cover page on that. So, thank you. So, yeah, it's increasing the staffing temporarily for the police department. Next is the Public Work and Boat Launch. Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I have the presentation of the Public Works October 2023 monthly activity report, and I have a report submitted by Superintendent Frater from the Southwest Mayors
Southwest Conference of Mayors.
Southwest Conference of Mayors, from their auction, and we had 4 items that were out for bid in that auction, and we had a 2010 Ford Explorer XLT, which was not running, which netted $1,600. We had a 2009 Ford F550 Super Cab dump truck with close to 94,000 miles for $13,000. We had a 2008 Ford F550 regular cab dump truck with 80.5 thousand miles on the odometer. Also a 2006 Ford 450 Super Cab with a salt spreader, and that netted $6,700. In the total that we took in.
Administrative tribunal, or when a public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, Chapter 11. Can I get a motion and a second to do that?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call number 1 to adjourn to closed session. Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin is absent. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Navas Barza?
Yes.
Trustee Peretta?
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn to closed session.
Thank you. We're going to close this meeting, adjourn to a closed session. The time now is 8:41. Students, if you need us to sign your sheets, anybody can do it. Just bring them up. We'll sign off for you. But then we need to clear the room after that. All right. Enjoy your evening.